What I'm about to say will be hard to believe. You might be a creative genius, but you're not accessing the one tool that could unlock it all. Science shows us there's a hidden creativity controller located deep in the brain that can generate a level of creative power usually accessible to only the world's greatest minds. It almost forces your brain to find boundless innovative ideas you normally can't see, and to solve problems that once seemed impossible. The most capable minds in the world use this instrument every day to solve the hardest dilemmas, and they master it by using two specific methods of thinking.
Creativity is not a talent. It is a way of operating.
My name's Yasin, the founder of Viral Video Club, and I've helped thousands of creators unlock their creative potential. In this video, I'm gonna help you to access your untapped creative genius, including my most important technique for developing wildly inventive solutions. But first, let's define creativity. Creativity is defined as the ability to make or otherwise bring into existence something new, whether a new solution to a problem, a new method or device, or a new artistic object or form, which suggests there may be more than just one kind of creative mode. In fact, according to neuropsychologist Anne Dietrich, there are 4 types of creativity. The first is deliberate and cognitive creativity. This involves using conscious, methodical thinking to solve complex problems like scientific inventions through planning and skill.
Brings them to a bat there. Failure is not an option.
The second is deliberate and emotional creativity that taps into feelings and memory. This type draws on life experiences and emotions, often fueling breakthroughs in music, poetry, or even therapy.
Do what's personal to you. Take it as far as you could go. Really push the boundaries.
The third, spontaneous and cognitive creativity, is the aha moment, when ideas strike out of nowhere, allowing us to come up with novel concepts without focused effort. And the fourth, spontaneous and emotional creativity, is pure flow. Think of athletes or performers who lose themselves in the moment, creating effortlessly without conscious thought, operating almost on pure instinct. Each type connects different parts of our brain, whether through emotion, logic, or instinct, making human creativity endlessly diverse and powerful. But are we all really creative geniuses? Well, surprisingly, we might be. In 1968, NASA conducted a study to understand the nature of creative genius. The study focused on a group of 1,600 young children aged from 4 to 5 years old. And what they were looking for was the ability to solve a problem with innovative ideas. This was likely an example of spontaneous and cognitive creativity. The children didn't have much knowledge or skills to handle the questions on the test, but committed a focused and mindful effort to solving them. The results were, well, stunning. 98% of the children's results were as high as the most innovative minds at NASA. They then went back and tested the children at age 10. Another staggering result, only 30% reached the same level. And this decline continued until adulthood, when only 2% tested at that same level. That study was done by this man, George Land. He stated, "What we have concluded is that non-creative behavior is learned." From that study, George identified 2 kinds of thinking. They're called divergent and convergent. And these are the thought processes that lead us to either unlock or block our creativity. Divergent is the form of thinking where creativity and imagination take over. Sometimes this is referred to as the open mode. In this mode of thinking, our minds begin processing multiple ideas and solutions within a free-flowing state. This releases the dam of ideas we have brewing within our minds. Convergent, on the other hand, focuses on using logic and reasoning to find the single best solution. Here we're making judgment calls where we criticize and calculate our ideas instantly. In other words, making us fearful of getting it wrong. As George put it in his 2011 TED Talk, these are the accelerator and the brake. He thought the systematic and critical approach of schooling limits our access to divergent thinking, and instead of letting young minds flourish, it stifles them with perceived notions of fear, a bad reputation, and self-doubt. Yet George thoroughly believed it could be undone, and there are strategies to help break those negative perceptions. Now here's where that creative controller comes into play. The ACC, or anterior cingulate cortex, is the part of the brain where creativity and imagination run wild, and it's partially responsible for our ability to think divergently. This is the instrument of the pros, legends, and heroes we etch into history for their scientific, musical, and athletic breakthrough. Part of its job is to form distant, semantic connections, and scientists believe this is where our feelings of insight are born. Here's a great quote from the study, The Cognitive Neuroscience of Insight. The brain can't use two different strategies at the same time. Some are strongly activated because they're the most obvious, and some are weak and only remotely associated to the problem. Odd thoughts, long shot ideas. These ideas are the creative ones, where the ACC is activated. It can detect these non-obvious, weakly activated ideas and signal to the brain to switch attention to them. That's an aha moment. Now there are other parts of the mind that can help filter these ideas, but having an active ACC can actually produce a great environment for all four kinds of creativity. So how do we properly activate the ACC? It starts with producing a positive mindset. Here are 4 ways to do just that. 1. We need to practice gratitude and embrace a positive disposition for things we might have viewed as negative parts of our life. By switching to the default positive view, we allow our minds a better chance. 2. We need to be more mindful so our brain has time to process between thought and feeling. This produces a calming effect on our minds as we become less reactive. 3. We need to sleep an appropriate amount every night. Sleep may be the most crucial practice as it gives our minds time to sort out all of the connections hiding between our ideas. Lastly, we need physical activity. Exercise is the best way for us to naturally rid our bodies of cortisol and also produce more positive mood-boosting chemicals like serotonin, norepinephrine, endorphins, and dopamine. Sometimes a simple change of environment is enough to switch us from convergent to divergent thinking. In this case, Huberman points to the physical height of a room and how that can be beneficial for analytical or creative work.
It seemed that people who were in high-ceilinged environments, hence the phrase cathedral, would shift their thinking and their ideas to more abstract and creative, lofty type thinking. So literally higher ceiling, loftier thinking. This was observed in terms of the language that they used, but also the sorts of ideas that they would generate. And conversely, that people that were in lower ceilinged environments would be more oriented toward using language that was more restricted, literally more detailed, analytic about things in their immediate space.
In the study, The Influence of Ceiling Height, the effect of priming on the type of processing that people use, John Myers-Levy and Rue Juliet Zhu found that even a change of 2 feet could affect the positive outcome of how creative or analytical a person thinks. What's absolutely fascinating is that this strategy can be used for both spontaneous and cognitive creativity, and also deliberate and cognitive creativity. Whilst high ceilings can help us reach spontaneous breakthroughs, lower ceilings actually allow our minds to become more deliberate and analytical. So if you're looking to solve those big creative problems, either seek the great outdoors or a spectacularly high ceiling. Stephen Kotler, an expert on human performance, coined the term non-time and defines it as a period of quiet, uninterrupted time where you were insulated from distraction. Now, I know what you may be thinking. When the hell does that time occur? Our lives are plagued by distractions, interruptions, and obligations. But you're already doing it, and it's probably responsible for your most creative ideas. Every day in the shower, you are forced to go without distractions, and it's why shower thoughts are responsible for some of the most powerful ideas the world has ever seen. So imagine the problems you could solve and the art you could create if you made non-time a larger part of your day. But surely we don't have enough time to sit quietly uninterrupted, right? Well, here is where self-discipline comes into play. Kotler describes the hours of 4 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. as peak non-time. Vast, empty, and pitch black before the world has awoken. This time of day can be your replenishing resource for creative inspiration, but only if you can commit to it. These uninterrupted time zones allow our minds to act without the typical stresses we feel during peak busy hours. That calming effect of starting the day before the rest of the world reduces our tension and lets our minds freely think, allowing us to access deliberate emotional creativity and spontaneous and emotional creativity. This time allows for a personal vulnerability that supercharges your creativity. No people, no deadlines, no notifications, just you and your thoughts. Highly skilled creative professionals know that setting certain limitations for projects will help them focus down their creativity. Those limitations act as a vessel for gaining clarity through a creative process. But the key word to making this technique work is feasibility, i.e., what is possible? What can be done from the security of the vessel? Setting boundaries to your idea generation can quickly help you accelerate and find powerful solutions. Even a famous director like Steven Spielberg uses limitations to his advantage. The channel Wolf Crow cites a fascinating technique Spielberg has used in many of his movies. By engaging a deep depth of field on a wide lens, Spielberg is able to keep all of his performers and action within focus, letting the viewer visually interpret the scene without strain. And it's this vessel that Spielberg uses that unleashes endless creativity. Now that's an example of a top-tier filmmaker utilizing deliberate and cognitive creativity so more spontaneous creativity can occur. And finally, the last and best technique that I employ on a weekly basis. Imagine your subconscious as an endless sea flowing with schools of fish. Those fish are the non-obvious solutions and ideas your ACC create. The net is your open awareness that helps you catch them. Without the net, they evade you every single time. In order to access this net, you have to reach the open mode. Here's more on that from John Cleese.
The open mode is a relaxed, expansive, less purposeful mode, in which we're probably more contemplative, more inclined to humor, which always accompanies a wider perspective, and consequently more playful. It's a mood in which curiosity for its own sake can operate, because we're not under pressure to get a specific thing done quickly. We can play, and that is what allows our natural creativity to surface.
Imagine you have stumbled upon an unsolvable problem. Rather than banging your head against the wall in convergent thinking, you train your subconscious to help you. The net is that lucid awareness that arises when you have tasked your ACC with finding a solution. And the best way I've found to achieve this is with a ritualistic solo outing to a comforting location. This works into a truly pragmatic approach to spontaneous and cognitive creativity. But before I venture out, I make a checklist to limit distraction. First, I isolate the problem at hand in my mind to make it super clear. Second, I get a very restful night of sleep. Remember your ACC training. Third, I turn my phone to do not disturb. Fourth, I make sure I am completely hydrated. This helps you think 14% faster. And finally, and most important, I repeat my mental cue. The mental cue is a ritual that will allow you to condition your mind to enter the open state significantly faster. Anything can become the cue, but it must hold significance for you. For me, I sit, listen to nature, and imagine my net brimming with fish. And as I slip into this state of thinking, I find not just one answer, but many. But you don't have to go gallivanting into the woods like a hippie in order to get great ideas. The main takeaway with the net effect is that you need to task your subconscious with a clearly stated problem as you go about your day. Now, these are just some of the science-based strategies out there to help you become more creative. It's my goal with this channel to produce videos that will highlight the best-in-class research on topics like this. So if you like what you saw, give us a like, because it will allow us to keep funding video essays on the art and science of creativity.